Hey everybody, Dr. Curtis Bejan, New Leaf Chiropractic. A lot of people ask me why I do what I do. Why am I a chiropractor? When I was in high school, I was in 2 car accidents within 30 days of each other. The first accident, I was rear-ended. I was a little bit sore, but I bounced right back. About 3 to 4 weeks later, I was driving in my car. I was going a little fast, and so was the car that ran through that stop sign and smashed into the driver's side of my car. My car spun out of control. I was shooken up pretty good. That night, I was scheduled to go into work, but that didn't turn out so well for me because I found myself at home, laid out on the floor in severe pain. The next week, I was still in severe pain, and I called my local chiropractor, who was my scoutmaster at the time, and he had me fixed up in just a short few weeks, and I was able to enjoy all my daily activities, work, school, you name it, pain-free. For me, that was pretty cool, and that was enough for me to say, I want to be a chiropractor. Little did I know, that was just the tip of the iceberg. Throughout my entire high school career, every 3 to 4 weeks like clockwork, I was constantly sick. Every 3 to 4 weeks, I'd find myself at my family doctor, typically with an upper respiratory of some sort like bronchitis. I'd get set up with some antibiotics, and I'd be good until about 3 to 4 weeks later when the cycle repeated. As I got closer to graduating high school, I started to develop some mild heartburn as well as some anxiety and depression. Once again, I went back to my family doctor and got set up with some prescriptions. Symptoms went away. Life is good. Graduated from high school, moved off to college, out onto my own. My stress levels had increased a little bit. My heartburn now turned into some acid reflux, and my anxiety and depression levels also increased. Once again, I did what I knew, and I went back to my family doctor, had my medications adjusted, and the symptoms went away. About 2 to 3 years down the road, it seemed like the medications I was on seemed to wear off. They stopped working, and my acid reflux came back. It was stronger than ever. My anxiety and depression, that also returned. Once again, I went back to my family doctor, had my medications adjusted, and got put on a couple different new ones. It wasn't about 3 to 4 months after I started the new medications, I started to black out for no apparent reason. I could be hanging out with my friends, and I would literally drop to the floor, and I would wake up. I would wonder, where am I? What happened? Why am I on the floor? And people around me would always ask, do you know how long you've been out for? And the response that I got back from them was anywhere from 30 seconds to 5 minutes. And for me, that was pretty scary. So I went back to my family doctor, told him everything of what was going on, and he ended up sending me to every specialist that you can think of. Cardiologist, neurologist, ear, nose, and throat specialist. You name the test, I've had it done. CAT scan, MRI, EEG, EKG, the list goes on. After literally thousands of dollars of the best medical care, all of those tests came back normal. This was something that I had to learn to live with on a daily basis. And I actually became pretty good at detecting when I was about to black out, and I would literally lay myself down on the ground, I'd black out, I would wake up, wonder what just happened, why am I on the floor? Then recall that I just blacked out, I'd get up and go about my daily business. Talk about a small interruption to daily life. As I was getting ready to graduate from undergrad, I started to develop some migraine headaches, and my acid reflux started to return, and my anxiety and depression also started coming back. I moved and I transitioned to start chiropractic college. My stress levels, they increased slightly, to say the least. I went from taking 15 credit hours every week, I now was doing 35 to 40. My acid reflux became very severe. My anxiety and depression, that kicked in full speed. And I started to have migraine headaches almost daily. I sought out a local family practitioner. I had my medications adjusted, and I was put on a couple new ones. Shortly thereafter, I started to have panic attacks almost every single day, and about 3 to 4 weeks later, I I started to have a toxic shock syndrome as a result of two of the medications interacting together. Um, I was walking around, it was like the world was going on around me, but I couldn't really interact with it. I was like a zombie. And during that course of time, my acid reflux was still really bad, and I had dropped about 25 pounds in a short amount of time. And back then, I weighed what I do now, and that's 25 pounds that I certainly didn't have to lose. My neighbor at the time was a chiropractic intern getting ready to graduate from the college, and he invited me to get my spine checked down at the student clinic. He had no idea about all the stuff that I've been going through, but one thing he did know, I had just moved in and it was up 4 flights of stairs. I went down to the clinic not expecting anything, filled out the case history, and once my intern reviewed my list of diagnoses that I was being treated for and then saw my even lengthier list of medications that I was taking, he immediately called over the staff doctor and they reviewed things together. They knew something wasn't right, they knew something was wrong, and they referred me out to a chiropractor about 30 minutes from where I lived. I showed up at this doctor's office. He was in his 70s, still practicing, very much an old school chiropractor. He did an examination on me, he did some x-rays, and he treated me all on that same first visit. I remember his recommendations really clear. He told me, if you want to get better, follow my recommendations, go home, gather up all your medications, and throw them away. They're making you sick. For me, I didn't know how to take that, because up until that point, health was how I felt. And for me, health was the absence of symptoms, and I most definitely found my health in the bottom of those pill bottles. I went home, I called Ask a Nurse, I called my family doctor, I talked to my parents, trying to find out what I should do. One thing I did know, up until that point, what I was doing wasn't working. Things couldn't get much worse. I gathered up all my pill bottles. I had about 15 to 20 different ones sitting on the counter, and I just threw them all in the trash. After 2 weeks of chiropractic care, my anxiety and depression levels went from a 10 out of 10 to a 5 out of 10. And after 4 weeks of care, it was almost non-existent. My acid reflux was no more, anxiety, depression, all under control. No more panic attacks, no more migraine headaches. I was so impressed with those results, I remained under his care for the next 3 years until I graduated from chiropractic college. During that time, the cycle of being sick every 3 to 4 weeks, it was broken. In fact, since I started care, I never got sick, not even with a common cold. Also during that time, no more blackouts. I didn't even have the sensation that I was going to black out. No more preparing myself to lay on the floor. For me, that is awesome. My life has been changed forever thanks to chiropractic. There's so many people out there, they're suffering from pain, health challenges, all sorts of problems, and for whatever reason, they've never tried chiropractic. I know this to be true because I used to be one of those people. Now maybe you or someone you know has been suffering from some health challenges and you're unsure if chiropractic can help, or maybe you've never had your spine checked. At New Leaf Chiropractic, we want to get you back on track and help in any way we can.